Welcome to This Explainer. So picture this. You walk into a store to buy a new pair of shoes. You pick them up, you turn them over in your hands, maybe check the price tag, look really closely at the stitching, and right in that moment, you feel like you are entirely in control of the situation, right? You're thinking, hey, I'm making a totally logical, rational decision here, based on the cold hard facts and my budget. But what if I told you that that decision was actually made way before you ever even walked through those doors? Literally. What if these massive billion-dollar brands had already convinced you to buy their exact product before you even touched it? Heck, before you even knew you needed it. And this brings us to the absolute core truth of modern business. People do not buy products. They buy emotions. Major companies out there aren't actually in the business of selling shoes or coffee or phones. They are selling a feeling. And honestly, once you really wrap your head around this concept, you are never going to look at a billboard or commercial the exact same way again. Let's just look at an everyday example. Take a regular old cup of coffee. Fundamentally, coffee is one of the absolute cheapest agricultural products on planet Earth. I mean, it's basically bean water. But millions of us all around the world wake up every single morning and just happily hand over $5, sometimes even more, for one single paper cup of this stuff. Why on earth do we do that? Let's be real for a second. Is that $5 cup genuinely 5 times better tasting or higher quality than the coffee you could just brew at home? Usually, no, it's not. So what are we actually paying for? We are buying the coffee feeling. We're buying that hit of productivity to kickstart the day. Or maybe a sense of urban sophistication. Or just a feeling like we belong to a specific lifestyle. It's actually genius. The brand took a completely ordinary, basic drink and transformed it into a whole identity. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact same concept in a completely different market. Think about luxury watches. If you buy a $50 digital watch, its function is to tell you the time. It is super accurate, does the job perfectly. Now consider a $50,000 luxury watch. Mechanics aside, it performs the exact same basic function. But the massive difference in that price tag? It has nothing to do with advanced time-telling technology. It is entirely about psychology. Those luxury brands are not selling you a device to track the hours. They are selling status. They're selling success. The product itself just becomes a physical symbol, and let's face it, symbols are often vastly more valuable to us than the practical object itself. You see this principle building across almost every industry you can think of. People don't buy expensive sports shoes simply because their feet need protection. They're buying the feeling of becoming a stronger, faster athlete. They don't buy high-end perfume just because they need a scent. They're literally buying a little glass bottle of confidence for their evening out. And nobody buys an incredibly expensive luxury car just to travel from point A to point B. They're buying recognition. They're buying respect from their peers. We are never just buying the item. We're buying the feeling it gives us. There is actually an exact corporate strategy for this. It's called emotional branding. In old-school traditional marketing, a company might sit in a boardroom and ask, okay, what does our product do? But the smartest, most dominant companies on the planet, they completely flip that script. They sit down and ask, how do we want people to feel? They do this because they know that human emotions are what actually drive our decisions, and our logic simply exists to justify those decisions after the fact. Psychologists have totally exposed this fascinating reality about how our brains operate in the modern marketplace. They discovered that almost all of our purchasing decisions actually happen in 2 very distinct phases. Step 1 is the emotional hit. You see something and boom, you immediately feel an emotion. Excitement, trust, maybe intense curiosity. Then comes step 2, the rationalization. It is only after that emotional choice has been made that your brain kicks into high gear to invent logical reasons to explain it. You tell yourself, well, I've worked hard, I deserve it, or hey, it's an investment. But make no mistake here. Your brain is just rubber stamping a decision your emotions already made while you were staring at the shiny packaging. This psychological sequence is exactly why the world's most successful advertisements almost never focus on the technical features of a product. Instead, they are literal masterclasses in storytelling. Think about the massive ads you see during major sporting events. You see a touching scene of a father hugging his daughter, or friends laughing around a campfire, or a determined athlete overcoming impossible odds. And the product itself? It usually only appears for like 3 or 4 seconds at the very end. That is incredibly deliberate. The real message isn't about specs. It's about anchoring a powerful human emotion straight to their brand. And as you watch these stories play out over the years, something kind of wild happens in your brain. It starts connecting all those warm, triumphant, or exciting feelings directly to the brand's logo. So logos aren't just graphic design, they are incredibly powerful emotional shortcuts. The exact millisecond your eyes register that specific check mark or that bitten apple or those golden arches, your brain instantly, subconsciously retrieves years of stories and personal experiences. Without even realizing it, you are no longer just choosing between two competing objects on a shelf. You are choosing between entirely different identities. Right underneath all of this marketing, the most successful brands understand one very profound truth about human nature. We all desperately want to become a better version of ourselves. Every single time we make a significant purchase, our subconscious is silently asking one massive question. Who will I become if I own this? Will this make me look more successful to my neighbors? Will it make me appear more attractive, more confident, smarter? The product simply acts as a bridge. It bridges the gap between who you currently are and who you deeply hope to become. And that right there is exactly why these massive corporations are willing to spend billions upon billions of dollars on branding. They aren't spending that cash because branding magically changes the physical product. No, they spend it because branding changes your perception. And when it comes to the human mind, perception basically becomes reality. So the crucial point is this. When brands figure out how to successfully sell you a feeling rather than just a product, they achieve the ultimate corporate superpower. They get to stop competing on price entirely. Seriously, think about it. It is very easy to compare the price of an ounce of plastic and metal. But how on earth do you compare the price of confidence? How do you put a strict market value on the feeling of belonging or the sense of high status? You simply can't. And that is exactly why these emotional brands elevate themselves from being standard companies into highly insulated billion-dollar empires. Next time you're scrolling on your phone or watching television and an advertisement pops up, I want you to stop and try not to ask what product are they selling. Instead, challenge yourself to ask this exact question. What emotion are they trying to sell me? The second you start to actively recognize the feeling they are targeting, whether that's nostalgia, FOMO, or empowerment, you instantly begin to see the invisible strategy operating behind the scenes. And once you can see the strategy, you become significantly harder to passively influence. Look, the goal of this explainer isn't to convince you to go off the grid and stop buying products altogether. That's just not realistic. The goal here is empowerment. It's about shifting from being a passive consumer to a conscious one. It's about looking at your purchases and honestly recognizing exactly what you're paying for. Are you paying a premium for actual tangible quality and durability? Or are you paying a massive markup for a beautifully crafted story? Because sometimes the absolute most expensive thing you buy isn't the item in the bag, it's the emotion attached to it. If diving into the hidden machinery behind brands and human behavior fascinated you today, trust me, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I highly encourage you to subscribe to Think Atlas HQ. We are building an incredible community of curious minds dedicated to uncovering the hidden psychology behind business, money, marketing, and the invisible forces that shape our everyday decisions. Because I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If your emotions are the ones making your purchasing decisions, who's really in control of your wallet? Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.